Mm-hmm.
Bam.
This is Tim Fitzgerald, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
Hell yeah. So Tim and I have done this kind of thing off and on, but mostly on for years now, where we go into the season, make some predictions, get them catastrophically wrong. And so I thought I'd start off with everybody. This is Tim Fitzgerald, the voice of the Stockton Ports, and my man Booney, now the voice of what I call the Thaw, but the House Always Wins show, talks about A's and other things. And so these guys are on. We did this last year, and I just recently sent you guys an email with our predictions from last year. Tim, I mean, look, these things are, you know how hard these things are, man.
Dice so roll, hard. Yeah.
Yeah, total dice roll. How did you do? What do you think about your picks?
Let's see. What do I got here? I guess I had Skeens winning a Cy Young. Got that
feel
right,
good.
At least.
Yeah.
Felt good about that NL Cy Young. I had, let's see, my AL Cy Young, though, I said a dark horse, somebody we wouldn't get. Whereas Booney nailed this one instead. We'll get to his in a little bit here. Yeah. Division-wise, let's see. What did I have here? I had the NL East getting 3 playoff teams in. What did we have? We had Philly. We had, was that it? Philly. The Mets didn't make it. They collapsed.
Yeah, you had 3 out of the East for both Eastern divisions. Yeah.
I had the Brewers winning the Central. I had the Brewers winning the Central.
Confident. Yeah.
I felt pretty good about that one. I just see their voodoo magic every year. And then, of course, the Dodgers winning the West. That is what it was. I did have Houston making the West. I had the AL East getting 3 playoff teams. Mm-hmm. That didn't happen either, did it? We had Yankees. Nope. That was it. Yeah, I did have the Yankees winning it. So
yeah, you had the Indians leading the league, Central, right? Yeah.
So you know, bad, actually. There's little sprinkles of things get right in there. It's always tough in a long season.
Well, you're picking from good players, right? And so you're like, which player is gooder than the next one? I'm proud to say that I got half of my league predictions right, but also, you know, who the hell cares? I got the other ones totally wrong. I had the Pirate. I'm like, I believe in the Pirates because you know this going way back, Tim. I don't like to pick repeat winners, so you have to pick a couple. But other than that, I try to kick them out, and so that's sort of part of my philosophy. Booney, how'd you do?
I hate that you actually kept these predictions. You know, I'm looking at it right now and just going nuts. I had Lawrence Butler with the A's as AL MVP. I thought he was going to have a big year coming off the second half he had in 2024, and it shows you that there's a big difference playing games that count versus playing games when you're 15 games out of contention. Fernando Tatis, MVP. Nope. Bobby. Who else did I have? I had Robbie Ray as my Cy Young. And for the first 60 games, that wasn't looking too bad. And he couldn't obviously maintain that. Schoolbull, which, you know, that didn't take a whole lot to figure out. Same thing with the A's and the AL West coming off 2024. Just didn't get it done. Jesus, the Orioles I had the Royals. I had the Dodgers winning 120. What am I doing? Like I said, I saw the email you sent out and I'm like, are you kidding me? He kept this stuff?
Always.
I learned that from
Got to keep the receipts, man.
Yeah, he sure did. He sure did, man.
But, you know, the thing about all of these predictions and like when the Shredder picks the top 10, whatever, who the fuck knows? Just try to enjoy the season a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
We didn't quite have all the same algorithms and all the models to predict that they do.
But who gets that stuff right reliably? I'll watch Tim Kirchin, see what he picks. I'm like, he has got no idea. He's just guessing like everybody else.
If you're like 60%, you're pretty good. 65% of the time, you're amazing.
You know what? So the most accurate thing about the movie Moneyball, and there wasn't many accurate things about it, but there was only one thing that was very accurate. When Brad Pitt playing Billy Bean says, nobody really knows. That's the only thing that was accurate about it. He's absolutely right. No one knows. So, you know.
And that's why they play the games.
That's right.
Hey, so you're back for another season with the Ports. How, I don't want you to say anything bad about the Ports because we all love the Ports here. Everybody understands that. Yeah. But how long term is a job like this? Like when does the club feel like it's time for Tim to move on?
You know, it's really about kind of my own personal goals. Unless I screw
Okay.
something up, they're going to keep welcoming me back, it would appear. And
Yeah.
I would say I've kind of got my own target range of a 5-year evaluation,
Mm-hmm.
see where I am. I turned 50 in a little less than a month. I was a guy who took a detour, and we've talked about this before, Pete. I was a health journalist for 10 years. And then
Mm-hmm.
when that went away, I was like, okay, this is my opportunity to go back into sports. That's why maybe 10 years off of a career and where a guy normally would be in these regards. But I also had the college SID life for a while, the comms role. I did other things
Yeah.
besides jumping right into baseball play-by-play fresh out of college. So that experience was good for me, honestly, in the big picture. So I'm in a sort of a 5-year evaluation window to see where I am. That doesn't mean like, oh, that's it, 5, I'm done. Kind of see where I am. There's a
Yeah.
good possibility that this winter I'm going to take one more nice long trip to Sicily, enjoy my Italian citizenship I got this past year, and take one more long trip there. Daughter is recovering from encephalitis, so we've had some disability time to work with that. So take one more long trip, and then I talked to my guy Chris Avaglia, assistant GM with the Stockton Ports, and floated out the idea about possibly being ready for a full-time role again, for a baseball comms role that comes with some sales of putting butts in seats, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
sponsorship, a little bit of selling for the products I put out, whether it's interviews, some sort of media guide thing, a newsletter, selling for those media products. We talked about that a little bit. I might be ready for that again. I had to get away from the grind of SID life, especially at a mid-major. Go Gaels, God is a Gale. I needed to step away from that for a little bit, and it's been good for me. Spend
Mm.
time with my daughter while she recovered, and now sort of pull out of that as we come back to some normalcy in our lives. Maybe be ready for that again. Something I did when we first met, Pete. That's
Yep.
who I was back then in the independent world. Might be ready for that again, and then take another evaluation from there. Everybody's a little different on what they want. Some guys are like, I think I could be here for a long time. Others are, yeah, this will be a stepping stone, 2, 3 years, and I'm out. Some jobs offer more stability. Some jobs are just more appealing. Like Visalia, God bless them, great town. Turns that spot over pretty quickly. It's a very old booth. It's the worst booth in the league. It's it's a job where they don't stay more than a couple of years usually, and
Mm.
they had somebody new last year who I really liked, Griffin Epstein. So each team's a little different. Rancho Cucamonga, Mike Linskog's been there 10 years. Steve Went,
Yeah.
Inland Empire, nice place to be. He's been there a dozen years. Those are spots that are like that. Stockton's kind of got that feel. I like that. It's kind of about the people I work with, and certainly that facility. You feel a little safe from whether there would be more contraction or something in a ballpark built in '05. I like being in there. So Stockton's got a lot of pluses for it that I can sort of look a little bit more long term and maybe think about a bigger role in the meantime until, we've talked about this, Pete. I was going to do this till they take the mic out of my cold dead hand. Now,
Right.
I don't know, retiring in Sicily and at 62-ish sounds kind of
That'd
cool.
be pretty
So
cool.
that's where my plan is
Yeah.
right now.
And let me ask you this, because I'm 56, you're about to be 50. There are certain things we know about ourselves. So would you want to uproot your family I don't know, let's say the Montgomery Biscuits called double A ball, right? Wow, a promotion in
Mhm.
terms of class.
Sure.
How and let's not get you that job, but
Nah.
how hard is that? How hard is that ask for you back to your family, to your profession, to just because you get a promotion in terms of class doesn't mean you get a promotion in terms of life.
No, and a lot of it is about the market you're in. Like I like working NorCal
Hmm.
versus working Springfield, Missouri. Like I replaced Alex Jensen here. Alex went to
Hmm.
Springfield for a year, double A Cardinals, right? Double A
Yeah.
Cardinals, that's the first job I ever applied for when getting back into this in 2011.
Yeah.
Double A Cardinals, I'd be super into that, but I'm not trying to uproot my wife, who has a big position with B of A's,
Right.
philanthropy in the Bay Area, and our kid who's here. Like that's not my path anymore. When we met, that was my path. I had jumped at that Springfield job because Alex did 1 year in Springfield and then head off to Worcester. He's with the Woo Sox. He got up to AAA. So
Yeah.
last year, Double A Springfield became open. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Right.
I'm not going to
Yeah.
Springfield, Missouri again. I played 2 high school football championships on that field. I know that town. I had friends that went to at the time Southwest Missouri State, now Missouri State,
Yeah,
and I know that town well. That's not a fit for what my wife needs. So it's more of it is a
Yeah.
collective decision now. It's about what's best for us. My next move is probably Sac or Reno, or it would really have to be AAA. We've broached
sure.
that topic. I've talked to her about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think of like Indianapolis, New Orleans, Baltimore, Memphis, something AAA that she was much more open to. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
really where in this world, what I'm looking at next. I do have to leap to AAA, and I've leapt. I went from NAIA to D1 mid-major before. I feel like I can make another leap. Who knows?
Timmy,
Right.
what's
Yeah.
the viability of low minor league ball right now? Do you think that's going to stick around for a while? Do you think MLB will kind of consolidate that? Do you think independent ball will be more viable?
Hmm.
What's the future of low A, high A ball?
There were some worries. I don't know if you saw the piece Jen Ramos put out on the Defector about DBH, Diamond Baseball Holdings, who are just buying up minor league teams. And there was a real concern that they were a front for MLB, that they were going to buy up teams. MLB would change the rules to where you couldn't own more than 49% of minor league teams, that they would change it for them. And they were this sort of dark wing of baseball, or just were working in cahoots with them
Yeah,
to be able to control the vote when another round came up about shrinking the minor league system again, that then DBH would say yes, and boom, they'd have an easy path to chopping everything into one, going from low and high A into just one level of A. There seems to have been a nice little breath of relief about that. Major League Baseball didn't let DBH just continue to gobble up teams. I think it was a boon to them initially, like, oh, great, there's some LLC, some company that wants to come in and buy some of these teams, create some stability. This whole one baseball thing Manfred wants, that was going to help sort of create a uniform structure to minor league baseball, how things were going to be set up. And this time they pushed back a little bit. They're like, okay, we're going to sell these next sales are going to get approved to others so as to not do that. Now you've got a minor league players union. That's the
Mhm.
biggest one. Talk about MLB being smart, saying, okay, we're not going to let you buy them all. But that minor league players union, that's the big difference now. I think things are looking a lot safer from another round of contraction of the affiliated umbrella. There's part of me that gets it. We've talked about this, like, yeah, okay, I could see a ball being smashed into one thing, but there is a difference. Like, there's a difference between single A, high A in the players that move up and then they kind of struggle there. We talked about a Rodney Green Jr.
yeah,
before, TJ Schofield, Sam in the A system, players like that crush single A, they go up to high A, and there's a bit of an adjustment period. It
yeah.
is another demarcation line. It is a difference. Where I'm in agreement with some of that contraction that happened, do you really need advanced rookie ball? Like, did you
Right.
need,
Yeah.
and I understand, so there were what, 2 advanced rookie ball leagues, and we've talked about this. You could chop off, baseball's always doing one more thing, an extra layer of something than I would do. Like, I get chopping 20 teams out of the affiliated system, remove some of that advanced rookie ball. And they chopped 40. Like, whoa, okay. All right, that's more than I wanted, but I get where you're coming from, dude. So now you got a real nice experience with the Pioneer League going independent.
Sure.
I think this is validating independent baseball. I think the affiliated umbrella got too big. It really did. You didn't need advanced rookie ball, really? Like, that just seemed
That's a
overkill
little
to
much,
me.
right? Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Who
God,
makes
man,
those
really?
determinations? Jesus.
Yeah.
Advanced rookie ball. Okay, go to Orem, Utah now for advanced rookie ball. Okay, all right.
Right.
So I got some of that. I feel like maybe we've stabilized. It wouldn't happen until 2030 anyway, but I feel like that players union from minor league baseball has really helped settle that down, even if it's done a great job of validating indie ball. I got a chance to sit in the booth of the Giants radio, Fleming and also uh, the legend himself, John Miller. I got to sit in that booth for a game. The Cardinals were in town, in fact, in September, and we're chit chatting about how Modesto no longer is in the California League, Modesto
Right.
Nuts. But they've got a team in the Pioneer League now, and JT Snow's the manager.
Yes.
Like, how cool is that? Like,
Yeah.
this validated indie ball, and I had to kind of speak up. I know it's just the A ball guy in the room, but I'm like, well, guys, they're still gonna have baseball. Somebody who's worked in indie ball, unlike any of you guys, like it still has validity to it. This is still a path for players to get into. There are major leaguers who have done indie ball, so I don't like how indie ball takes these shots and how it's like, oh, now this team's been robbed of their baseball. I was doing a thing about I called Creighton at St. Mary's on Saturday, and
Mhm.
their leadoff guy, Rocco Gump. Rocco, one of my favorite names already.
It
Rocco
is,
Gump. His dad, Chris Gump, was in the Giant system for a couple years.
Yeah.
And back then in A ball in 94, he was with the Clinton Lumber Kings. Clinton Lumber Kings aren't in affiliated ball anymore. It's their stadium, Riverview Stadium's from 1937 was when that thing was built. But
Right.
they went summer collegiate. Like there are still paths. I can see both sides. As long as these towns end up with something still, then that I get it, because if I'm a major league club and I'm sending my first, second, third round pick to some stadium in 1937 that doesn't have the standards, I got that. I understood that, even if these towns need to still have some sort of baseball. As long as we find that balance,
Mhm.
I think everybody can come out pretty happy from this. And I hope all the affiliated snobs, if you will, just to be honest with you, I hope they realize independent baseball has much more value than they think it does.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, if a guy like you took on a prominent role in independent league and you knew how to develop and sell players and get them out of your league, man, you wouldn't be in independent ball long. They'd graduate
No.
you up to affiliated ball, right? Because
Yeah, amen.
that's what they're looking for, you know. And some kids do need. I was going to ask you about this maturity and professionalism, in single A. But also, some
Yeah.
guys need to go and become 25 years old and be like,
Yeah.
no, really, I have worked through all of my younger self things, because not everybody needs to be in the major leagues who's in single A ball on talent. Yes, okay, but also by maturity. Are they treating this like a profession? I have to say, like, either your talent or your passion run out for a lot of these guys,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of guys that you have to call. It's just like calling games. There's a lot of guys who want to do your job. It's a dream job, but you
Yeah.
have to want it so bad that you give up a lot of things. Like, I will go
Yeah.
over to, Scudder's Scoot, North Dakota to go call a game or something. So yeah, how much of that maturity, that emotional side, we saw, like, if we want to be unfair to Anthony Rendon, he just didn't like baseball after a while, right?
Yeah.
So some of
Yeah.
that culling is going on at single A, double A, rookie ball, all these things, and maybe in independent ball, that's already taken care of because these guys they're still out there banging, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something Booney and I talked about, where there's these levels have they filter some things out. They
Yeah.
filter out, if your indie ball filtered out, can you be a professional? Can you be a pro? Can you behave, function, prep, go about your business like a pro? Maybe hit the ball hard, maybe throw really hard. Can you be a professional? Are you not going to show up drunk? Are you going to
Right.
do the side work? Are you going to do all these things? Are you going to prepare yourself in a way that some team is going to look at that and think, okay, you're an outlier at this level. You deserve to come out here. I find single A then weeds out if you have the talent for this
Right.
and the work ethic. It's like, okay, now let's you're checking off as you climb up, you better start checking off more boxes. Like, okay, you've
Yeah.
cleared this level. It's like coming up through a video game. Okay, you did that. Now you got this next level. They're gonna tack this on now. So
Mhm.
that's definitely a lot of what the climb is, that mental maturity. You're seeing that in college ball now, with how the transfer portal,
Yeah.
the power fours can just pluck transfers from
Mhm.
other places. Okay, you proved yourself here at this mid major. You proved yourself here at the D2. So it's actually kind of helpful. It's taken a little of the pressure off high school kids to throw hard really fast early in their careers, to throw hard at 15 years old, 14 years old, in order to get signed to Auburn right away. Now you can go prove yourself somewhere for a couple of years. And then the SEC schools, ACC, then they're kind of pulling from there. If you weren't, a 5-star recruit
Right.
right away, you don't have to blow out your arm at 15 trying to throw 93 so you can go there. You can go to a JUCO for a couple of years. You can come to the West Coast Conference for a couple of years and then be seen. And so part of that, though, is about maturity. These guys can make mistakes at 18, 19 years old now in a smaller school before then going up to a Power Four. That the maturity is a big factor. Your decision making, man, that's where it's at, Pete. What kind of decisions you make and what your preparation's like. It's really the layers filter that out from small college to big to indie to single A to high A. Now that filter, you're really shaking through who rises.
Timmy, here's a question I have for you, and it's about a player I think you're familiar with. Christian Almanza played at St. Mary's.
Oh yeah,
WCC player. He was the player of the year. He didn't get drafted by anybody. He went on to play for the Oakland Ballers. I saw him play on several of occasions. He had 30-something home runs for the year. How come a guy like that doesn't get a shot?
So I'm a huge Christian Almanza fan. I was texting with him a lot going into the draft, and I said I would ask around because scouts come to our games, and there was a scout for the Reds, in fact, who I had seen at St. Mary's games. And so I'm like, oh, okay, let's go. We were talking about St. Mary's. He asked me about Preston Howie, who the Tigers ended up taking, I think, in the 7th or 10th round. Good luck to Preston. And I asked him about Christian Almanza, though. He's like, well, he's 24 already. He's first base only, and he's got a bit of an uppercut swing. So these were all the flaws that they felt. And so they thought, he'd be a good depth first baseman addition. For some organization, if you need that, because he used his COVID year and he sat out a year to transfer. His father died of COVID. He was going to be a Utah Ute. He was there a couple of years. Then he goes over to San Joaquin JUCO. Pandemic wipes that out to be close to his dad. Then he uses the years at St. Mary's. So he used up all that his college time because the draft buzz wasn't high for him because of age, first base only, and his style of swing. But we saw it work. At some point, sometimes in affiliated ball, there's some groupthink. And it's like, oh, you can't do that. That never works. Don't do that. It happens old school and new school. Old school, oh, you always bunt here. You always do this here. New school, oh, this means that. That means that. And there's no other way around the numbers. Old school and new school get into these. So I'm glad. I told him when he signed, I texted him. I said, hey, I hope you destroy everything. I hope you destroy the baseball there. I hope you rake. And I hope you can get into this whole thing that's happening now where older college guys do get promoted quickly. Yeah. And I even told him, I'm like, hey, look, if you don't get drafted, let me see who I can talk to with the A's about getting you signed. And then they went and drafted Nick Kurtz.
Yeah.
And so first base wasn't really open at that point.
Yeah, right.
And so, and they had a couple other lefty first basemen that work in. You play you carry 3 catchers at our level and you work one of them in at first base. So it was a little gobbled up, and 2 of them were lefty and Mario Gomez. And so it's, there wasn't quite the room for him. He got stereotyped, unfortunately, or boxed in. I'm hoping it's a good situation for him to be local, to play for Aaron Miles, who I really like.
Yeah.
He was with the Pittsburgh Diamonds and, of course, a Cardinal. So maybe he sticks with that, that nice local work. But I hope some of these clubs realize their own new trend of college guys getting promoted quickly and know that he could be one of them. I hope he's on somebody's radar. Put it that way.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's
absolutely
because
what a kid too. Like, you want him in your clubhouse.
Sure, I like the kid a lot. I've seen him play several. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you a little bit about John Fisher. I know you're probably a little harder on him than I am. I think Booney's probably in between us somewhere. How possible is it for his perception to change in your mind? I mean, we have to be critical of him, but also like, hey, they're doing it right now in Las Vegas. Their team has got players signed. So how has your opinion of John Fisher evolved watching the last year's events?
It hasn't. It's shot. Like, I don't.
Is it possible for him to?
It's going to take a lot, because even if the A's in Vegas rattle off repeat playoff appearances and actually spend in a mid-tier range or something, people are going to be like, well, finally, or they did this in spite of him, or after this. Like, when some of the most with the Ken Rosenthals and folks are bashing you, like, you've clearly crossed over into an irreparable area right there. There's I was always wondering about how much of these names I should say here. There was a undrafted free agent in the A's system, played for us for a chunk of last year, then went up to high A. His father is in the A's front office. He was portrayed in Moneyball. And one night after a series in Rancho Cucamonga, where then we're switching over to Inland Empire, it was a 2-week SoCal trip, having a drink with the guys, and we were down at the hotel bar, and we sort of explained where we're each coming from, talking about the A's. And it's always tough because I root for every single one of these guys to have a 15-year major league career. Right. You know what I'm saying? I hope they all have the best success because in the world. And so I'm talking with him, and he's like, well, I can tell you the baseball people wanted to win again before they left Oakland. The baseball people were really trying. I'm like, okay, I don't doubt that. But I feel like the people who provide the baseball people's resources weren't trying. And he's kind of shrugged, like, well, okay. So that's where the issue comes from. He does everything out of necessity. He doesn't want a grievance from the players union about not spending. He needs people to give him more money. He has to sell his MSL team. Thank God. He has to sell them in order to, to be able to make this Vegas deal come through. He's just one of those guys. He's very, like, there's this resistance to building up that part of Oakland where the Coliseum is. Everybody wants some nice little posh area already to go into versus making it something. So these are a lot of things wrong with Fisher. He'll never be able to fix that with me. And it's a fine line for me of, hey, I got to talk about these Ace prospects, and they've drafted pretty well the past couple of years.
Yeah, they have.
The farm system's gotten a lot better. And I think their farm system shot up several points, if I'm not mistaken, in there.
Ninth, I want to say.
Yeah, ninth. Yeah, ninth. So that's up a lot. So from where they were before. So that's a big improvement for them. They've done a whole lot right recently as far as their drafting, but it just seems separate from him. He's over there on the business side, finally letting his baseball people do what they can do with some resources. That part's helping. He's going to be boxed in to being that owner. It's reflective of me of the Bidwells when growing up for me in St. Louis.
Sure.
Taking the football team out. Any of these owners who have done that, especially in the manner he did it, it's going to take a lot. He's going to have to cure cancer or something, man, to kind of to salvage that. Or they're going to have to win 2 titles in the next few years, and him to have done something directly about that. We'll see how the Vegas stadium lays out. I would think you'd won all-star games in Vegas if you're building that stadium, but you're doing 35,000 seats. Like, he seems short on vision to me, and his baseball people bail him out.
Yeah. My whole thing with Fisher, and I've gotten a lot of criticism because I haven't bashed Fisher. And as a fan, I could care less. I think fans pay too much attention to the owners. And the misperception I have a problem with the A's is they're looked at as a loser. From 2000 to 2006, they had the second best record in all of baseball out of anybody, second to the Yankees only. From 2000 to 2021, I feel like, hey, when we're talking about 2022 now, I felt they kind of tanked it and packed it in. But, 7th best record in all of baseball. I mean, they've been to the playoffs 11 times. It's hard to win in the postseason. So as a fan, I'm like, they've won. And so is everything you're saying correct? He hasn't spent, he hasn't invested. I don't know necessarily if I wanted him to, because that could have changed the winning. It could have made it worse. And as a fan, that's what I look at. I want the team to win. I don't care who you win with. Every summer, I want a competitive product that you can root for, that's fun, that competes. And for me, since I've been an A's fan, that's what they've provided. The biggest complaint I have against Fisher is what he's done in the community. How he allowed the Giants to take over the East Bay, for me, is crazy. he hasn't done much in Sacramento as far as, again, community, building something fun for the fans. And that's my big criticism of him. I've been critical of him, but at the same time, I don't want that to overshadow the success the A's have had during their time as a franchise.
Yeah, I just felt like it's been in spite of him when they've had success. Like,
Sure.
he's put that front office in such a bind, the baseball people, and they still, because they're good at it, they've managed to make it work and, have some successful runs. He's hurt. Forget spending on free agency. I think free agency is a flawed way to look at the success of baseball or how much a team is doing. Free agents, you got your cream of the crop, some big names to get out there. Then everybody else is somebody their team let go because they got somebody else.
Yeah.
So, but retaining your own, you know what I'm saying? That's where they failed, even in some of their best years, to be able to retain your own. That's what the draft and develop model should still have at the end. And it didn't. And he could talk about, well, our budget, this. Okay, well, you keep familiar players around. That's when people come into seats. They need that. It's not just the win total. Eventually, they won 97. Oh, they're on a pace for 97 wins. August and September would start to, you'd start to see that build a little bit the latter half of the season.
Yeah, right.
Which you kind of realize what you had in all these new guys. But when you don't keep some of these guys, that's why baseball front offices use WAR, is because they see the more you win, the more your attendance goes up. So you keep some of these higher profile ones. They haven't done that. And you're right about the community thing. That's been a major swing and miss as well. And I think my gripe is how much blame Oakland took in the exit. Yeah, they haven't done well in the stadium game before, but I thought they actually, tried really hard at this one and put out a good competitive offer for the infrastructure development, things like that. And he was like, I'm gonna go to Vegas anyway. I think that Stan Kroenke.
I think once the door was open for Vegas,
when the team's like, okay, we'll do this. You know what? Never mind. Anyway, I'm moving after all. Even though you did this thing I asked for, that one gets me a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for covering that, man. I know that these are challenging topics, especially because ultimately, you're in the organization, and
they're watching.
They're
watching. The farm. Ed Sprague's there. The father of the player I was talking about, and he's there. They're there. They hear me. So I try to have to paint things in a very positive light. The first year was tough for me. And how bad things were for the A's, how new I was to it, how bad they had drafted before, the way they handled pitchers that first year in Stockton. I was kind of ticked off a lot of times. They were bad. The record was bad. So I'm like, what are you showing me? And then, but then they showed a willingness to adapt, make some changes in how they treat pitchers, how they're going to try to take the kid gloves off and realize, we have to build these guys up. Like, that's what gets them hurt. If they're already 19, we have to slowly build them up. And if we don't, and then we throw them into having to throw 170 innings somewhere, that's going to get them hurt. So I think they realize they have to learn how to win. They made a lot of changes, and they've really improved their draft. The way they've gone about it, it gives me a real good reason to be like, hey, you know what, Ace? Good job with that. You really changed. You modified. You improved the way you went about some stuff. You adapted. And there's the cynic in me will always be like, oh, okay, now you're going to Vegas. Now you're going to try. So that's why it was good that I had that conversation, with the players' dads in the front office to say, well, they were trying. The resources just weren't there. So that was the first year to this past year. They showed me a lot, and that helped.
Okay.
Timmy, what's your opinion? Go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, because I'm going to take us in a slightly different direction. So go ahead.
Last question. What's your opinion? I got a belief right now with regard to pitching. You need to draft and develop pitchers from within, because right now, anything off market, free agent market is so overpriced. I mean, pitching is so
10 mil is the cheap. 10 mil is
so
basic.
Expensive. And then secondly, injuries. When a position player gets hurt, you're talking, 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. When a pitcher gets hurt, you're talking 1 to 2 years sometimes. It just puts a franchise in completely a different direction. And I've always been one as of late. Hey, you draft pitching. Yeah. And because, again, I mean, they paid a good amount of money for Savali right now, but I thought they got a bargain on him, believe it or not, compared to what pitching's going for right now. So what's your take on that? Is it the best available pitcher, or best available player, excuse me, or do you kind of shift towards pitching from someone who's seen it at your level?
You got, one thing that the A's did this year that I liked was, as part of their philosophy, was kind of looking for outliers.
Okay.
That a different arm angle, things like that, like with their first pick, Arnold, a different arm angle, changes in velocity, something that is unique or different. And, certainly I think they factored in durability. It's that slow build up. It's the age that you're putting, all this pressure on hitters too. Like that's part of the issue. You think about, okay, Tommy John surgery. Studies have found that pitchers who have Tommy John surgery before 20 years of age have less than half the odds of reaching the major leagues compared to those who tear it later in their career. So a 2023 study tracked 611 pitchers selected in the first 5 rounds of the draft over 7 years, found that pitchers who underwent UCL reconstruction at or before age 19 reached the majors 48% of the time. Those who had surgery at age 25 or older reached the majors in an 86.2% clip. That's a 40-something% gap. Same study found that every additional year a pitcher delayed UCL injury after reaching 90 miles per hour, his odds of reaching the majors increased by 24%. So there is a certain amount of care that has to be done and a certain amount of buildup. It is best to draft and develop your own pitchers for sure, especially if you're like Colorado. If you're one of those places that struggles to bring them in, you get some guys who have been willing to come there because they're ground ball guys, and that plays well. So, that's how you succeed. You have to be able to draft and develop, but then there's also retaining them.
Sure.
Like we talked about before, you got to be, fiscally ready to do what the market responds to, what it is. You got to be ready to say, okay, this guy costs 24 mil now. Like, if you want to keep him and his WAR, then you do that. And
it's just insane, man.
There's a certain amount of, you're right about best available as far as draft philosophy, like you're referring to. That is still the way to go early. Okay. It's still the first 2 to 3 rounds take best available.
Like Taylor and Curley.
It's different. Yeah, it's different from, say, football or basketball, where you're like, man, we need a center.
Right.
Whichever type of center you're talking about, football or basketball center. Yeah. Man, our pass rush is terrible. Let's get the best one of those guys in the first round, because you're looking for somebody you're going to play right away.
Right.
In those two sports. Baseball, you've got the minors to develop them in. So you're going with what's the best talent we can get to then develop. Very, very rarely are you thinking need. Maybe in a general sense, St. Louis Cardinals most recently, man, we really lack star pitching in our minors. Okay, well, let's get Liam Doyle right away. Let's start there, and then and then work from there. So there's a little piece of what you look at. Maybe you're lacking overall in your system. You're not necessarily drafting for that position because we need that right now, just because you just don't know in baseball. Top 10 picks in baseball, you're getting some more sure things out of college. Your Nick Kurtz, perhaps a JJ Weatherholt for St. Louis this year, right. Skeens. You're getting some of those now in that top 10, but then after that, your star's still developing.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, we talked earlier about the graduation process, A-ball, AA for players, but also, for guys on the inside. Pete would say, if you are complaining about the Dodgers and how well they run their organization, you have to look throughout the entire thing. They play hard at every single opportunity. So like, who's more active than the Dodgers on the waiver wire in terms of picking players up? And then they know how to take, and the A's are good at this too. They know how to take that commonly available player and say, just throw that slider, just, whatever it is. And they figure out how to tune them up and take up. Phil Bickford. I can do this name game for a while. Phil Bickford became relevant. Anthony Bonda became relevant. These guys were, anybody could have had them. So there's all kinds of players like that. Pete would say, hey, if you want to compete with the Dodgers, go hire away one of their many GM grade guys, because they have sucked up a lot of talent. And these guys, they don't want to leave, right? And so how does a team off the field find and develop front office or even announcing talent? How do they lead at that? And does anybody pay attention to that?
Yeah, it front office now for sure.
Okay.
There certainly is. It's kind of like plucking assistant coaches off of a
Mm-hmm.
successful coaching tree. That's
Yeah.
happening
Right. Yeah.
now.
Okay.
You can go back to say a Heim Bloom or any of those guys who had success in Tampa, people who had success with the A's at one point. Dodgers, yeah, there a lot of these guys are getting plucked over now. Dodgers do a good job. I think everybody talks about okay, the deferred money and the big
Yeah.
contracts and
Yeah. Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
but it's you and I talked about this, Pete. They go from the ground up though too, like all their top prospects, their top 40, your Eduardo Quinteros, people like that that are like these very balanced players. You see that a lot in Baseball America's review of these guys. They're like, well, there's not real one giant standout tool, but all five tools are 60s. They're all kind of everything's
Right.
sort of balanced, and then they turn that guy into a complete major leaguer. And
Yeah.
here's the other thing that's about the Dodgers. Let me just before we talk about, I'm gonna completely agree. Yes, that front office guys are definitely targeted and plucked from those organizations. But the Dodgers do a good job of, okay, well, we'll give you a raise. Oh, you want a promotion? Yeah, okay. Well, you're now the
Mm-hmm.
associate for this now. They do a good job of retention in that regard. The thing with the Dodgers that I think teams or fans and the other teams, some of these owners overlook, is playoff revenue is gravy. And the Dodgers are swimming in it.
Yeah.
Because when's the last time they missed the playoffs? 2011, 12, somewhere around there? It's
Mm-hmm.
not money you're budgeting. You factor your 81 home games, your radio and TV revenue and all these things. You factor in the attendance for that. That's where your budget rides from. And maybe for the Dodgers, you're like, okay, we can kind of factor in the playoff money, because you're like, yeah, we're probably going to make it there. But every playoff home game is gravy. And we're talking, at least a $5 million day, four-ish, somewhere around there, depending on
Yep.
your market, how many your stadium holds. Think about that for 12, 13 years of the Dodgers now, just piling up home playoff money. That was one thing that disappointed me about Pittsburgh when it was Garrett Cole and McCutchen and all these people. And it's like, no, just get back into the playoffs couple more times and you could probably afford extensions for these guys. Like don't just chop it off now. Like, man, you're not in an old 60s cookie cutter. You're in beautiful PNC ballpark. Like
Uh-huh.
you should be able to do something with that. You're not, that was really disappointing when they tore down that 2013 team. In those years after that, like that was dumb because they were going to be a thorn in the Cardinals' side for a long time with that group, and then they just tore it down. So I think that's one thing that people forget with the Dodgers. It's not just about the money the owners have, and we need to even that out. Their success begets more success. Like you
Yeah.
keep this thing rolling instead of tearing it down. Sure, number two market, big TV deal, big pocket owners, sure, but they've had this run of success. They are just swimming in gravy and can just dish it out to whatever free agent they please right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
One of the guys, and no one's ever heard of this guy, but his name is Brandon McDaniel. He's in the Dodgers. He was like their strength and fitness coach for a while.
Sure,
Now he is a part of the
they
major
matter
league
a
coaching.
ton.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
he's
Yeah,
part
they
of the
sure
major
do.
league staff now, right? And so he's not leaving. And instead of somebody else promoting him and saying, "Brandon, you've been with the best franchise in baseball. Come here," he's staying in. He's at the major league level now. And this is a guy who's
Yeah.
he's the fitness coach guy, right? And this, I'm not knocking his role at all, but they see real value in that. And so that is an area where Rob Nair and I talked about this. If you spend $20 million in your front office on quality people in your front office, you're
Yeah.
going to see more players. You're just
Yeah.
going to have the better ability to. And look, who wins trades more often than the Dodgers? They win trades all the time.
Mhm.
So yes, they have a huge financial advantage. Yes, they can put more people in their ballpark than everybody else. It's a lot of money coming in,
Yeah.
but it's partly because they have this desire where they've built a desire within the major leaguers to say, I'll go to the Dodgers. I'll revive my career. I'll take a subordinate role. Kike Hernandez left to
Yeah.
become a starter, and came back to be a utility guy. And he could easily start.
And that's
in
for
the lower
anybody
majors.
anywhere. Yeah, I'll join the Patriots to do this. I'll join those
Yes,
Yankees
yes.
from before to do that's. I'll join this Laker team in order to. That's just what you do. Those Warriors. Yeah, I'll come
Yeah.
over. I'm David West. Yeah, I'll do that. You know,
Sure,
that's
right? David West,
normal.
good call.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum for teams where they've built a culture that wins. And here's the thing: is Andrew Friedman. He announced it. He's like, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to build a team that
Yeah.
perpetually competes. We'll have a strong farm system. We'll call, we'll trade, and then they went and did it. And everybody's acting surprised that they're great now. They've been great for 10 years, but the machine is fully tuned right now and humming. And they'll wane. Just like the Cardinals are great at this as well. You know, they have a little bit of a lull right now, and this is you grew up in the
And they had to
Midwest.
start over. That's what Heim Bloom's doing. They they neglected their development for far too long. They got cheap after the pandemic, lost their way, the Cardinal way, and now Heim Bloom, Tampa to Boston to here, has had to, now he's got an in-between job. This Tampa, Boston, St. Louis kind of right in between as far as the budget and the type they're working with. Put a ton of money, hired a bunch of new staff. That was something Mike Schultz was upset about when he left the Cardinals. Like, why are you letting Chris Carpenter leave as an instructor to go to the Angels? Why are you letting this person leave to go? Like, keep your guys, keep a real development staff. They neglected it. Now Heim Bloom's had to start it all over, and they've had to pump a bunch of money into that.
Yeah. Thanks for covering that, man. Because the talent game is not just Ohtani. Like, no. And not just 60 players deep on the major league roster. It's the front office has got to be packed with talent. And there's a competition there. And guess what, everybody? If you're in the front office of any professional major league or professional baseball team, major or minor leagues, half of them are below average. And so you've got to figure out, even within that, what's available, who can make a difference. And it's not just cheap. You got to find brilliance out there. So thanks for talking about
amen. Yeah.
Should we do some predictions?
Yeah, for sure.
Let's try to make something stick.
All right, Booney, you're up.
What do we got?
MVPs.
MVPs, huh? Since you're keeping track, I'm not messing around anymore, okay?
All right.
Yeah, I'm opening Fangraphs. I'm doing the whole thing, man.
Oh, man.
National League, I'm going to go Acuna, Ronald Acuna Jr., okay?
Okay.
And American League, I'm going to go Aaron Judge, since you guys are keeping track.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. How about a bounce back player, someone who maybe had a little bit of a down year and is going to have a big year this year?
Well, I think Acuna Jr. would be one of them for the Nationals because he was hurt for most of the year. If I was to go another one as far as who had a down year last year, let me give it a thought and come back to me.
Come back to you.
Yeah.
Cy Young.
Okay.
Cy Young. You got to go Tarek Skubal, right? I mean, the kid's so dominant, and the kid competes at every single batter he faces. He's just unreal. As far as National League, I mean, how can't you go Skubal and Skeens, right? The Pirates are so much more improved as far as offensively. I think you're going to see a little bit more wins from them as well. And I like those two, Skubal, Skeens.
All right. We're going to go over to Timmy for his MVPs and Cy Youngs.
I remember who my dark horse Cy Young was now. I think I said Max Fried.
Okay, that's a good call.
Heck
you
of
did.
a year.
You did.
Heck of a year. That's who I was thinking of. Okay, so he came up just short of that. MVP. Let's see. Somebody who's going to really just can I say something about this past year's MVP real quick? 2 minutes.
Please.
Cal Raleigh. Like, come on, man. Okay, I understand Judge did what he did, but for a catcher to have this 1 year like that, Judge, that was his third one. Like, if you take, and don't get me wrong, singles are incredibly important, but that's where the difference was in their numbers. Judge had more singles, and that's awesome. He's a better offensive player.
Sure.
Catcher, man. A catcher hit 60 of them, manages that staff, got his team to an ALCS. For the first time since whenever. That was a voter botch to me, and then that bummed me out. So let's talk about this year. If I'm gonna go MVP, let me say in the National League, if I'm going non-Ohtani, I will go ahead and go Soto. Juan Soto, just because of how He improved his overall game, in my opinion, quite a bit. He's still young. And honestly, I know the Mets took some flack for the people they let go or traded away. I think they needed a mental flushing, flushing, flushing their meadows, if you will. They needed a mental. They needed some of those guys with that Mets stench on them of collapses, which they do so well. They needed to freshen that. They needed that. They needed some new blood, some new life. I think they came out about even in WAR and talent and that sort of stuff. Mentally, though, to not have been around for some of those Mets collapses, I think they actually did some smart things. AL, I want to revisit my Bobby Witt Jr. Just go ahead and run that back.
Okay.
It's tough because you're like, yeah, it's going to be Otani and Judge. Duh. Oh, yeah, whatever. So if I'm trying to pick some other guys, you know what? Give me Soto in the NL, give me
Yep.
Bobby Witt Jr. in the AL, and I'll roll with those two for MVPs. Cy Young's, I kind of want to run back last year's winners too, is the problem. But I'll go with the guy you picked last year, Pete, in Crochet.
Okay.
I like
Talk about
Crochet.
another guy that took another step forward.
Yeah.
Man, did he he just took another step forward in his control this past year. That was big. NL is a little more open. You can see Skeens repeating it again just because of how consistent for a puppy he's been. You're like, man, if he's already this consistent, and they monitored his innings fairly well, you would think it's maybe hit him again. But you could also see Chris Sale getting back in the mix.
Yeah.
I could see a Logan Webb, honestly,
I was gonna
if
say
his
Logan Webb.
team's a
That's a good
little
call,
better
too.
around him. If his team's a little better around him, you could see Logan Webb, Chris Sale, and really NL wise, those are the ones that really stick out for me. You could maybe make a case for a lot of guys in the AL, but Yamamoto's the only other NL guy I could see where especially on the team that he's on. But I'll go ahead and lean into the Chris Sale getting back in the mix thing. Although, boy, he's older now, isn't he? How old is Chris Sale? He's 36. Yeah. Let me
It's tough to
change
go
that.
back.
It is tough to go back like that. Let's you could all, if we're talking about step forward, what if Hunter Green takes it? The only problem is that ballpark he plays in.
Yeah, it's so
that boy, Great American Bandbox. That ball just flies out of there. That makes it tough. And that's a lot of the toughest, the strongest pitching is in the AL these days. You never know what somebody like Yamamoto can do with a nice full healthy season that makes him stick out a little bit.
Yeah.
On the team he's on.
Here's my sleeper.
Boy.
Sleeper of the MVP. Look for Adley Rutschman to have his breakout.
Okay.
Year. I like Adley Rutschman. For some reason, I like those switch hitting catchers, Timmy. I like
yeah, you do. That's your total thing. He's got some competition there now with Basalo, but they could always find a spot with the DH or first base for one of them. Yeah.
That's all that stuff is great, man. You guys are doing such a good job with that. I don't want to pick the same things too, so I will acknowledge your Soto pick and your Acuna pick. I think those are great picks. Okay. Why wouldn't those guys erupt and do something? I've worked hard on understanding what value looks like on the field, and so I'm going to rely on my little high WP. So WPA for me correlates well with winning, and so I've kind of looked at that to develop these things. So I wrote a really neat piece on Paul Skeens too, and how much the Pirates won, how much they might have won. And they got a lot of wins out of him. Maybe they could have maximized it, but it was pretty good. He's probably going to be. I'll say that Paul Skeens is going to be the NL Cy Young, and that's probably the last repeat guy I'm going to pick. And I will add this to what you're saying. I'm really big on the Hank Aaron Award. We aren't talking about that here. We probably should.
Yeah, man.
Otani and Judge should have been the Hank Aaron Award winners, but I think the MVPs were somebody else. And so it's a different thing. And so the best hitter, Judge. But Raleigh, not only did Raleigh have a comparable year in September, and people will never remember this, but Seattle was on the verge of getting passed up by the Rangers, who appeared to be
they were.
And then they're like lickety split, went to the second best record in baseball or whatever it was. Right. Yeah, a bye. They went to a bye is what they did.
Yeah,
and so they were on the verge, and then he got hot. The Mariners got hot. Oh man. We also skipped the Brewers altogether in terms of who's valuable. That team's loaded with talent, dead with talent. And so we don't realize there's a lot of value in all of these players. I mean, think about how valuable Devers is going to be on the Giants. So I'm going to
Giants
go with
full
Yeah.
season.
Devers as my
Really?
MVP because, yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to tell you why. Because that team's going to pitch good enough in that ballpark, right? And
Mhm.
look, are they going to win? Who the hell knows? I don't know. I may
Yeah.
not even pick the
Yeah.
Giants to win the division, but I think it's possible that they do. And if you put 2 or 3 guys on reliably 200 times in a year, whether it's Arise or Lee or Adamas or Hill, they've got enough guys to get guys on in front of him. And if he's dotting 1, 2, and 3 home runs regularly, man, that team's going to be tough to beat. They're going to come back. They're going to get ahead. So, yeah, I'll say Devers in that ballpark.
Okay.
Yeah, why not, right? I mean, you got to pick
Yeah.
somebody. Certainly, he's certainly capable. Will it happen?
He's certainly
Sure.
capable, no question.
Yeah. And the American League, again, I'm not going to pick Judge. He's great. He's fantastic. I think that Pete Alonso in that ballpark,
That's not a
if
bad
that
call.
team competes, yeah. He was hyper
Yeah.
valuable last year. He was very, very dangerous for the Mets. And so obviously you don't win, it's harder to win the MVP. So if the Orioles can fight their way to the top, and they were unexpectedly bad last year, if they kind of round
Yeah.
themselves
The
into shape,
pitching's got to
man,
round out. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so I'm bullish on those guys. So I gave you my NL Cy Young, my AL Cy Young. I'm not going to pick Crochet again, and I'm not going to pick Scooble. So I will pick. Gosh, who am I going to pick? Let's see here. I don't want to pick Hunter Brown. Let's say Brian Wu. He had a great year last
Oh,
year.
for Seattle.
That's a good call.
Yeah. And if the
Yeah.
Mariners win, why not? Why not?
Mariners got a
pick
few
him?
candidates. Could be him. Could be Kirby. Yeah.
Could be Gilbert.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So I guess can we do our first time ever picking our Hank Aaron Award winners real quick? So I'm going to wind it back and let Booney sit in the chair for a second.
Yeah.
Who's your Hank Aaron Award winners from each league?
Hank Aaron Award winner. That's the best hitter, correct?
Yeah, best offensive player. Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Best offensive player from each league. You got to go Shohei Ohtani with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to really, I mean, I understand there's some dark horses, but geez, he's so good. With the American League, I am going to go. You know what? I think he's gotten a year older, and everyone thinks, hey, he's playing in a smaller ballpark. It's made for him. I'm going to go Nick Kurtz.
Okay.
All
right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, I can see that. One thing about the Hank Aaron Award and MVP, they need to be voted on at a different time, or it needs to be the same voters, and you tell them you can't put down the same guy for each. So I almost feel like it's two different voting pools. So I'll vote for the Hank Aaron Award, and then this person's thinking, well, I'll vote for Judge for the MVP. It's almost, it needs to be like, it's the Hank Aaron Award was there for that guy who had a fantastic offensive season. Yeah. Maybe his team didn't make the playoffs, because MVP, it kind of comes with the playoff thing. Maybe their team didn't make the playoffs or something like that. So, it should be that runner-up award, to be honest with you, and or that you acknowledge a big offensive season, but maybe this player, that value was special this year. That, like you're talking about. Someone's got to be done in the voting with that. Give me AL Vlad Jr.
Okay. I like that.
NL gets a little tougher on this group. NL, I don't want to say this, but what if somebody like a Pete Crow Armstrong or somebody?
That's not a bad call.
For the St. Louisan in me is really just not looking forward to that. But I could see something like that. Arizona's got some nice parts, but none of them are like, boom, that guy is going to be an MVP sort of type. That's it's a tougher group to try to pick that of who's going to have this big season, but maybe be sort of second runner-up type of guy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I could see Devers falling into that. I could see Bryce Harper. Give me one of those two in the NL because Harper's going to be a fairly motivated guy to have a bounce back year, even though he had still a pretty decent
good year.
It's so good.
It was still pretty good.
He's
to
amazing.
Where one of those two, taking that, it's going to take a next step or a rebound for each of them, Devers or Bryce Harper.
All right. Pick one. Just for the sake of you getting
within the two.
Yeah.
Give me
writing
Harper,
it down. That's
then.
why.
Give me Harper then for East Coast bias.
All right, there you go. East Coast bias, West Coast guy. I got to do my Hanks. I'm just going to be boring and say Judge and Otani again.
Yeah,
because-
right.
That is boring.
But I do. I'm
You said
100% with
Ohtani,
you
what
on
am I
this.
That's
talking
who the
about?
award's there for. That's who it's there for. Suppose
Yes,
Cal Raleigh,
yeah.
because of a Cal
Yeah.
Raleigh has a year like him, or somebody,
Right.
Perdomo,
has
Perdomo was fantastic last year, right? So maybe you
Yeah,
award a guy
right.
like that or
Ugh.
whoever it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
okay. Let's do the divisions. Go ahead, Booney.
AL West, here's what's interesting about the Seattle Mariners. Seattle Mariners made a great run last year, and the whole idea with the Seattle Mariners last year was that their pitching was going to carry them. And their pitching wasn't very good last year. They were injured, they underachieved, yet they still got where they got to. Guys like Randy Arozarena brings toughness to them. A guy like Josh Naylor as well, Cal as well. They are a tough team. I think it's going to be the Mariners in a runaway in the AL West. Love to say the A's. I just think there's a toughness to that Mariners team, and I think the pitching is going to bounce back to where it should be. As far as the AL Central, I think it's going to be the Royals. I like the Royals. I like Bobby Witt. I like the Royals. I see them carrying that squad. And as far as the AL East, I think the Orioles have made just too many changes and are primed to win. But I think it's going to be a hell of a race. I like the Tigers a lot, obviously. How can't you like the Yankees? How can't you like the Tigers? I mean, that division's loaded, NL West, you got to go the Dodgers. NL Central, I'm going to go with the Cubs. I hate to do so, but I'm going to. And the NL East, I'm going to go with the I hate this one too, but I have to go with the Mets.
Okay. Terry Fitz.
Let's see here. AL East. You're going to hate this, Pete. I'm going to be a little boring. I am going to say the Blue Jays.
Okay.
AL Central, I will go Tigers. AL West. This is actually the Rangers are going to put up a better fight than they did last year. I like the changes they made. I'll say the Mariners barely hold them off to repeat, but boy, it could easily be the Rangers again. NL East, I will still say Phillies. I think the Mets, because they fleshed out some of the old things, will actually finish strong into a wild card this time and be one of the top, not just sneak in, but be a good wild card this year. NL Central, I am going to go Cubs too, unfortunately. NL West, I would love to do something different and say Padres.
Okay.
But Dodgers are just a little too built for that 162 is the thing. There's a whole lot there for them. Let's see what the Guardians won the Central last year.
They came back at the end. Last 20 games they were on fire.
So I've at least gone Tigers there. Let's see. Did the Blue Jays win the East, or was that the Yankees that won the
Blue
East
Jays
last year? And
Blue Jays won.
It was the Blue. So I'm repeating there. Yankees, I don't know. They're just so stereotypically themselves. Ton of slug, fielding's meh. That's a lot of them. Pitching's okay though. It's not bad, but their bullpen is certainly thinned out a little bit. So that sort of reflects some of my decisions there. If we're looking at up and coming wild cards, Mets finally get it together with the changes they made. Padres, some new blood there, younger former player manager. Maybe first year manager is a little tough first year, you're a former reliever. That was a little tough, but they are certainly quite talented. Diamondbacks, it'll depend on their health. It's hamate bone injury season right now. Corbin Carroll had one of those injuries already. So they've already taken a big knock in their health already. So that's what leads me to that. It's Rangers as that, because that's who keeps the wild cards, man. They keep doing it. We did have Blue Jays Mariners last year, which was a nice a treat, making that LCS, and then you had the Dodgers winning that one before. So there was something to be said for being that number one this past year finally.
Sure was.
Compared to a couple years ago where it was about being the hot team of the wild card. But even those division winners had a strong finish to them.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All of that is just fantastic. I guess I'll start with I'm going to go ahead and go with the Mets. I like what they've added to the team.
Yeah.
I think they can cover what Alonso didn't have because he plays first base, and that's sort of recoverable. So I think they'll be all right.
They have some farm guys that can maybe fill that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen again. Like I'm a firm believer in Juan Soto is the protection in that lineup. So put two guys in front of him, and I get it that he won't bat as much. Everybody, I get that. But if you have Lindor and Bichette in front of him, those guys are going to get on base over 200 times next year, right? As long as they stay healthy. And if you're going to put 400 base runners on in front of Juan Soto, I'll take all of that eating. Let him get to the plate.
Yeah.
He's the
amazing.
guy
Yeah.
So I'll take the Mets and I'm going to take the Orioles for a bounce back year to go with that Pete Alonso MVP thing. I think that actually goes together nicely. Prepare for that to be totally wrong. The AL Central. Okay, so I'm not going to pick the Indians. I'm sorry, I'm not going to pick the Guardians to win. So I will pick.
I think the Tigers are going to be tough. Yeah, I don't know why.
I know they're going to be really tough.
Like
But
the
you
Royals.
pick the Tigers. I'm going to pick the Royals. I think I did that last year. Yeah, I'm going to stick with that because they're good, and Vinny and Witt are just such a great core, man. Those guys are awesome.
Yeah,
I can't wait to watch that team. I'm so excited for them. Then in the Central for the NL, God, again, who knows? Honestly, that division for such a long time has been just pick them. Who knows? But so I will say, I said the Pirates last year, so I won't say that again. I don't think the Brewers will repeat, but I love Jackson Chorio and all the guys they have. I'm realizing that Christian Yelich is probably going to be a Hall of Famer at some point. At least
you would have to think.
Serious consideration,
Yeah, they'll get back in. But
they'll get. I don't think they'll be totally bumped out, but I don't think they'll win the division. Okay, so I'm not going to say the Cubs because I guess that leaves me with the Cardinals. I'll take the Cardinals. Yep.
I love it.
And and so that'll be great if it happens. Then I can point at Tim and say, "You didn't believe in your Cardinals."
There's a team going through their first rebuild ever.
In a long time.
Like the Mets and the Orioles, I think the A's are going to have, I'll call it a bounce back year, but they've been so great the last two seasons in the second half. And if you give them even a 500 record through that bad stretch this past spring, they're a playoff team. And so I think that they're ready. I think that they're going to surprise folks. This is not me being a homer. This is just actual, like looking at what they've got. And again, put two or three guys in front of Kurtz that can get on base 200 times. I will let Kurtz get to the table with all the A's on. And if he can't do it, Rooker can. And if he can't do it, Langoliers, so it's going to be tough on teams. They're going to have to slug their way out of it, but
they're going to have to slug.
Yeah. I think that they can. And so the Dodgers, right? They're going to win again. Of course, I do think the Padres are kind of cooked at this point right now. Like their window has closed. Pete's going to say, we'll see. But I'm going to elevate the Giants to being a wild card team. And who's my wild card? I'm going to pick one wild card from the AL. I'll take the Yankees. I mean, that's easy, right? So there you go.
Yeah.
There's my picks.
Yeah,
Any other thing we need to pick before we wrap this up? And thank you guys for doing this with me.
Let's see. You talked about some comeback type players, right?
Yeah.
Guys that rebound. Give me Texas Rangers while we're on that one. Let's say Seager.
I like
Nice
Seager.
and healthy and looks like himself again.
Yeah.
I like when he's healthy and plays. He's a fun player to watch.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see Arise play in San Francisco. I think
I do too. I think that was a hell of a pickup.
Yeah.
I know people get down on him. And here's the thing, fellas. I don't want to get too far into the Arise thing, keep you guys too long, but he gets on base 200 plus times a year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
When's that a bad thing?
Yeah, and it's like, well, his OBP is bad. First off, no, it's not. And second, he gets on base 200 plus times a year.
Right.
There's so many guys that do that.
Yeah.
And so put him on in front of Elio Ramos and Devers. Oh my God, that's going to be great for the
Adames.
Giants. Are going to be great, and they will pitch well in that ballpark. So I don't know. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Final thought. I think talking about. I know a lot of people are already worried about a lockout.
Yeah.
And there'll be a lockout. Winter meetings will get canceled this year. I don't think we miss anything next year, though. I'll go ahead and come right out and say we'll play in April. Put it that way. Is it mid to late April? Maybe, but they'll play in. We'll regular season games in April of 27. I think the owners like, as much as they want competitive balance, I think they like free money too much.
Yeah.
Okay, baseball owners love free money, and that's really what the CBT, with the competitive balance tax, ends up going to. Like that goes to them. So I don't know. There's things about a cap that I get. I totally get that. People say, well, it'll suppress salaries, and I'm like, yeah, but Patrick Mahomes and Steph Curry aren't exactly hurting for cash, and they're like, well, okay, but that's the stars. It'll shrink the middle class of base. I'm like, well, that already happened. Like everybody wants the big. You have your big ticket guys, and then your under control guys that are still at arbor less, and that middle class gets kind of left out. They're the guys that are taking deals when spring training starts. I, I get things from both ends. I just feel like there's stuff you could do, like the NBA's tiers, that'll change things. You think about the way a floor, because you got to put a floor in, right? So suppose the floor just resembles the luxury tax top, because if you think about a floor, if the Dodgers are, say they end up capped at 236, and then you wouldn't have to make, so the bottom teams have to pay 130.
Yeah.
Are the Pirates into that? I like I think they're asking for this cap, and then they're like, oh wait, we'd have to do that. Oh, maybe I'm not into that, because the CBT, that money goes back into. In fact, the MLBPA sort of complained about it. Prior to the current CBA, roughly half of the taxes paid by clubs who exceeded the CBT were given to clubs as a reward if they kept their payrolls below the CBT threshold, effectively creating an incentive to suppress spending. So in the last CBA negotiation, MLBPA made it a priority to eliminate that rewarding. So MLB and players always have split this luxury tax proceeds. So per union memos from 23, over 107 million from that luxury tax went towards retirement accounts. And
Wow.
and that was the second time that players took more than 100 mil. So then you have your supplemental commissioners, the discretionary fund for CBT. That was about, that's to reward teams both receiving revenue sharing, smaller market teams, and also grow their revenues aside from the media. So there's too much being done with that luxury tax money. I think for them to want to bail, I think it ends up, owners propose this cap, and then that's the thing they work from. Like it's their, oh, let's start high and work to, and it seems like they've made some concessions then. If we just end up with different tiers and a floor that are similar to how the top of the luxury tax is. And once the TV money changes, I think, and maybe there's expansion and realignment, so the Centrals aren't so low budget, although they keep putting out multiple teams into the postseason. And people talk about, well, baseball's had a lot more different winners, but none of them have been bottom half outside of the Royals in 15. So there's a lot for each side. I just think the owners like what the luxury tax money does, and same with the players. So I think there's just changes to that tier, to that system. Like when the Yankees won 3 in a row the last time, that's when we got this luxury tax. There'll be some response, but again, it goes back to, well, the Dodgers are swimming in playoff money. Do it right,
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think it's a little reactionary to what's going on right now. I think we can avoid a cap, because then you're subject to how much revenue comes in overall. I think we avoid a cap, and there's just changes to the current luxury tax system, and we play games next April. Let's go with that.
Yep, absolutely.
Booney?
Yeah. As far as what I'm looking forward to this, I agree with you, Timmy, by the way. I do think there will be a lockout. I don't think they're going to miss any time. I think there's too much money on the table, and it's just going to be a standoff that ends in, whatever. As far as the season, I'm looking forward to see how the AVS challenge system works out. I think it's going to be exciting.
Ooh.
I think it's going to be something new. And I'm excited for that change. I've seen it in independent ball already, and I like what they do with it. As far as the new CBA, a couple things I do want to see changed. I think the salary cap and the floor and all that stuff, I want more credit being to the lower level players, meaning I want service time changed. I want 2 years in the minor leagues to count as 1 year as major league service time. You got some guys that, if you're a Super 2, for example, it's like you're in the minor leagues, you're not getting service time for like 10, 11 years. I mean, by the time you get to the major leagues, it's possible. And the other thing I'd like to see change, and for some reason I can never ever figure it out, Major League Baseball is the only sport where you cannot trade draft picks, and I do not know
just
why that is.
compensatories. Yeah, just the compensatories. I see.
Yes.
You're right. Open it
Yeah.
up to all of them. Yeah, yeah. Even because the
Absolutely.
compensatory thing is new too. Yeah, let's open it up.
So those are the three things. Those are my final notes. But yeah, I think they'll figure it out. I do want to see a few changes, but I'm excited for the AVS system. I'm excited to tee it up.
I don't know that there'll be a lockout or a strike. I just think there's too much money on the table. Cut to the longest strike in the season being canceled. That's fine. That may happen, but there's a lot of money involved, and they'll say all kinds of terrible things at each other. The players seem to win most of the time in the big leagues. I don't think they want a cap. I don't think they would allow a floor necessarily, the owners without the cap. So I don't know that will change, but maybe they'll put some pressure on the minimum, that they want to get certain amounts of money, and maybe they'll mess with the luxury thing. Here's the other thing to think about is there are more major league players in a season than ever before, and the players are not going to give that up either. They're going to ask for more of that, and so maybe that will turn into, I don't know if we'll get to expansion this round, but I think it's in the realm of possibility. But I do know the media thing is really screwed up in a lot of ways. We watch baseball in different ways. I don't know that I'll buy the F1 package this year. Normally I do. And I don't think I'll buy any major league package because we're going to do some traveling. I'm going to be abroad for a bit. I don't know how I'm going to watch baseball. And so I'm not inclined to watch any of it. And I certainly don't want to have to get ESPN.com or Apple TV or anything else. Like I want the product direct. And
it's a little,
I think
that day's coming.
Yeah. Well, and here in LA, if you don't have Spectrum cable up until last season, you couldn't watch the Dodgers.
Right? Is that nutty?
You had to get a whole. Yeah. And so none of that works for anybody. Imagine what the Dodgers would scrape if they had open access to all of Southern California. It's
the blackout is dying finally. Market streaming is finally coming around. It took a long time.
Like I travel a lot, and I can't always watch a game I want to watch because it's not blacked out for me if I'm home, but if I'm on the road, it's blacked out, and I'm like, what? That does me no good.
Right.
I got to finally enjoy that change. I got to finally enjoy that change this past World Series. Yeah, I was up till 6 a.m. Sicily time watching Game 7.
Wow.
But I got to see it live there on MLB app. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Awesome. Yeah. Well, listen, fellas, I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Everybody, you got to go check out. Look, if you're in the area, if you want to go to a Stockton Ports game, let me or Booney know. And I'm going to commit Booney to this. He'll go with you, and I'll go with you too.
Oh, yeah.
Go see games.
Holla at your boy. I got 4 tickets.
Yeah. And then the thaw. The house always wins. Booney, plug your new shit real quick.
The house always wins. Follow me on X at Las Vegas A's Pod, and check it out on YouTube. Just look thing. It's a great thing. What it basically is it's going to be several shows under one umbrella. If you want to get a prospect breakdown,
cool.
It's going to be someone doing that. So it's going to be it's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Everybody. I'll see you all later. Probably have another show published in a little bit. You too. I'll talk to you in a sec.